man hat in sämtliche Sachen sagt, was kleiner der heute man sagt, das ist simple.
No.
Aber was denkt ihr anders?
Ja, speziell als in Zoom ist jeder einer ben Jochid. Den ist bei sich in der Heim. Okay, meine wir dabei sei, let's go. This is our second shir on V'ata Tetzaveh, with Hashem's help. Yesterday I gave you a long introduction, relatively speaking. And we also did Perakim Aleph and Beis. That's what we did. So we're ready to continue. I want to continue. We're ready to continue. But before we continue, I want to repeat and maybe go a little slower in this repetition to bring out 2 points from Perek Beis. Perek Aleph was mostly kashas. It's mostly questions. 2 points from Perek Beis that are very important as we go forward in the Maimir because they're foundational. Their foundation is under the ground. You don't see it. But the foundation holds up the whole building. They're foundational. They're fundamental. And the first is this. The Rebbe was discussing the difference between the word tzav and tetzaveh. Tzav means the command. Tetzaveh also means the command. And he said there's a difference. Because in the word tzav, the one doing the tziva, the one giving over the message, is simply a messenger. Moshe Rabbeinu gives over to Klal Yisrael the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In the words V'ata Tetzaveh, on the other hand, the emphasis is on V'ata. Not that he's a messenger giving over a message, but that Moshe Rabbeinu V'ata is critical in carrying out the Tetzaveh. What does it mean? Asked the Rebbe. And the Rebbe answered, it means lekasher ulechaber es Yisrael l'medin tzaf. That Moshe Rabbeinu is mekasher mechaber, he ties and he binds Yidden with the Yidin tzaf. That's what it says. V'ata tetzaveh is b'nei Yisrael. Everybody knows that the word tetzaveh, which is the same shadish as the word mitzvah, which means tzafsa. Tzafsa means to be next to. Lekasher tzafsa means to be near, adjacent to, close to. That the meaning of the word tetzaveh is lekasher or lechaber es Yisrael l'medin tzaf, to tie and to bring close Yidden with the Yidin tzaf. So I want to talk about this for a few minutes already, and then you'll see how this is going to play out the Mitzvah Hashem in Perek Gimel in today's shir. And that is, they tell a story. I love to tell this Maaseh with the Rebbe Rashab. But the Rebbe Rashab, like a lot of the Rebbeim in the Nesiach Chabad, used to travel in Iceland. They often traveled outside of Russia for all kinds of reasons. They traveled for Askonos, they traveled for Golos, they traveled for the Refuah, for Shidden Nesibis. And the Rebbe Rashab was in Germany, Kammerpombe, in Würzburg. Germany in those days had Rabbanim, big go'inim, big Talmidei Chacham, big go'inim. And they were Germanic Jews. They're very precise, very exact, very pinklach, as is the culture in Germany. And one of these Rabbanim walked into the Rebbe Rashab, and the Rebbe Rashab was sitting and writing a tshuva, a shaila nigel, answering a tshuva nigel. So this Rav, who was a big Talmud Chacham, asked the Rebbe if he could look at the tshuva, and the Rebbe said he could. So he went to look at the tshuva, he saw the teichen of the tshuva, and he began to discuss it. You can't learn it. He was a big Talmud Chacham, and the Rebbe and this Rav discussed the tshuva. A year later, the Rebbe was again in Würzburg, and again he was visited by this Rav, and again the Rebbe was writing. But this time the Rav just assumed if the Rebbe is sitting and writing Chedush Teda, that he's allowed to look. And this time the Rebbe was writing to Samach Vav. He's writing my Morim. I'm assuming it's my Morim of Shua Samach Zayin, which is all about Neshamas and Malach. So he walked over to see what the Rebbe was writing, figuring it's not a tshuva in Lomdis, in Niglin, Alocha. And he sees Kabbalah Verte, every Malach's last name is Aleph Lamed, and so on. So he jumps back, I said it's Helpman the Maaseh, and he says, ha, mit Neshames and Malachim atzir Tzatan. You're busy with angels and souls. Ha, mit Neshames and Malachim. In other words, this is not my domain. I don't want to go close. This is the Sipur. Why am I telling this Sipur? Because that's the Tacha Rebbe. Yeah? A Rebbe is an Neshama Yid. A Rebbe is an Neshama Yid. In other words, a Rebbe is all the milas. Yeah, he has, like the Rebbe wrote in the letter of Taka Gimel Tamas Tafshin Yud. But the Iker Inyan of a Rebbe is Pnimius. A Rebbe's connection with Yidden is on a level which is higher than our consciousness. We're not Neshama people. We're people. The greatest attribute we consciously know we possess is our mind. We believe, we believe we have a Neshama. But for a Rebbe, the Neshama is reality. And when he interfaces, when he meets other Yidden, it's a Neshama connection. So b'Meil Zazeh, you have Gedei Yisrael of all types. Some Gedei Yisrael teach Torah. Some Gedei Yisrael's business is to be mechazik, pirtzes hadas when it comes to mitzvahs. Pashat kiyum mitzvahs, whether it's kashrus, or it's mikveh tarer, or it's Shabbos, or it's sefer Torah, tefillin, mezuzos. Every gadol has his business. But a Rebbe, a Nasi, his role is a neshama role. In other words, his entire definition is that his neshama and the Yidden, the neshamas of the Yidden of his generation have a direct connection. And it's his job, l'kasher, l'chabed, as Yisrael many say, to connect Yidden to the Meibishn. I told this to you many times, that there's a letter from a Pidyon Nefesh from Baal Shem Tov, which is printed. A Pidyon Nefesh from Baal Shem Tov, a pan from the Baal Shem Tov, which is printed in the Alter Rebbe's Igros Kodesh. It's also printed in the Baal Shem Tov, in Sefer HaToldos and Baal Shem Tov. I'm sure it's there as well. What's the Teichen of the Pidyon? By the way, the way we have the Pidyon is because the Baal Shem Tov gave this Pidyon to the Mizitcher Magid. And by the Mizitcher Magid, this was the most chaviv, the most precious thing he owned. And he gave it b'matana to the Alter Rebbe to show him how much he loved him. And the Alter Rebbe sent it b'matana to his Rebbe, the Mendel Vitebsk, the Mendel HaDoker, who was living in Eretz Yisrael, to show his chibah to his Rebbe. And the Pidyon never made it. It stayed in Europe. And it's part of the Geniza. But the whole Pidyon is a few lines. But the Teichen of the Pidyon, the Baal Shem Tov writes, Ani Yisrael ben Sara, that I should have a ksiva chsima tova, the regular words. And he writes, I should connect myself to Yidden wherever they are, and schlep them out from whatever schmutz they're in, and bring them close to the Meibishn. And then this is the Moshe, but say Hashem darki ish, this is Kabbalah Werte, as a psukim, was medaf verstehen. But the Baal Shem Tov says, I want to find a way to connect myself to Jewish people, wherever they may be, schlep them out, whatever they're in, and bring them closer to Atzma Seinso. So, it's, in other words, it's not the pshat that the Rebbe is another Godel B'Yisrael who's teaching Torah. Of course he teaches Torah. He's mechazik shmiras hamitzvos and pitzas hadas and bedek. He's doing all of those things, but the Rebbe's role is to feel Yidden and to awaken the neshama, the pnimius. And that's the taich lekasher ulechaber, as Yisrael many say, to tie and to bind Yidden with the Eibishter. Now, in Mitzvah Hashem today, in a few minutes, we're going to start learning Pei Gimel, and we're going to have a new expression. We're going to change. The expression lekasher or lechaber as Yisrael made in Sefer either going to disappear completely, or it's going to disappear mamish till the very end of the Maimer. I guess you could say in Perek Yud Beis he mentions it again. But the Lashon lekasher or lechaber as Yisrael made in Sefer is going to disappear from the Maimer, and it's going to be replaced by a different expression. The real truth is that both expressions mean the same thing, but it's going to change. The expression which is now going to be adopted is lozun ulefanes es Yisrael b'inyan ha'emunah, to give Yidden mezenis and parnasa, that means food and clothing and other things, when it comes to emunah. So in Perek Beis the expression is lekasher lechaber es Yisrael made itself. And in Perek Gimel, that idea is going to be retranslated, and that's how it's going to be till Perek Yud Aleph. Lozun ulefanes es Yisrael b'inyan ha'emunah, as you'll see in Mitzvah Hashem later. This is the first thing that I wanted to repeat, and so to speak, talk a little bit more on b'negea to yesterday's class. And the second is the way the class finished. That I discussed with, I'm pushing repeating myself. That there's a pasuk. ואתה תצוה b'nei Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu, we now know, it doesn't mean that he should tell people to do a mitzvah. You should connect Yidden to the Meibishn. Yeah, ואתה תצוה b'nei Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu should connect Yidden to the Meibishn. V'yichu lecha shemen zayizach. And the Yidden should bring shemen to Moshe Rabbeinu teaches the Maimer and Moshe will have an aliyah. V'ata tetzavas b'nei Yisrael. That Moshe Rabbeinu connects the instant Eibishter. And as a result, that Moshe Rabbeinu gets a higher mile than he has by himself, the mile of Shem and Zayizach. And I pointed out that this means as if Moshe Rabbeinu is getting a schar. He's doing a good deed. And his schar is that Moshe Rabbeinu has an aliyah, sheish meis elef ragli ha'om asher anoichi bekirbe, that because of the ragli, Moshe Rabbeinu reaches the madrega of anoichi. So the kum tachai said that v'yikcho elech is a schar. It's a schar for V'yata Tetzaveh. Now, schar is a tricky business. Why? Just 1 second. Why? Because schar is called a manas l'chal b'pras. And Chassidus teaches pras l'shem prusa. It's a broch and a shtik. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to do a mitzvah, serve Hashem, to get a pras, to get a reward, to get a peace. And this is one of the ways of understanding the flow of the Maimer. In Peirik Beis of the Maimer, the V'yikcho Elacha is separate from the Ata Tetzaveh, as if Moshe Rabbeinu is doing a good deed and he's getting a schar, a pras, a prusa. What's going to happen when we get to Peirik Yud Aleph is Moshe is going to get a schar takeh. But the schar is going to be in the V'yata Tetzaveh itself. Not that Moshe Rabbeinu does a good deed and he gets something back. Moshe Rabbeinu does a good deed. What does he get back? That the effectiveness of his good deed is more than his goodness. The V'yikcho Elecha is going to be a part of the Ata Tetzaveh. So it's taka and from schar, but it's not schar and eifan abanas l'kal b'pras, perusa separate from the avodah, but rather it's going to be one with the avodah. These are the two ideas of yesterday's class that I wanted to review because we're sort of late and we maybe have rushed a little bit, so I wanted to repeat it. So we're going to start now, Peirik Gimel of the Maimer. Let's now explain it. We now understand Ve'ata Tetzaveh does not mean to command. Ve'ata Tetzaveh means to connect. Moshe Rabbeinu connects Yidden to the Eibishter. So the Rebbe, let's explain this. In other words, we have no kasha. The kasha has a teretz, but the teretz needs a beard. This idea that Moshe Rabbeinu is Mekasher or Mechaber, Himself needs to be explained better. Says Rebbe Magdim Ba'amayim, the Rebbe Rayatz the Friya, the Rebbe explains in his Maimer. And of course, all of the ideas in the Maimer from the Rebbe Rayatz is based on the Rebbe Rashab and Ayin Tes. And if you look in the Ayin Tes, you'll see where the Rebbe Rashab, Maimorim go from generation to generation. Moshe Rabbeinu Nikiraya Mehem, the Moshe Rabbeinu is called a Raya Mehem. The literal translation of the words is a loyal, is a reliable, is a trustworthy shepherd. A Getraya Pastor. Says the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Shnei Pirushim is that there's actually two meanings of the words Raya Mehem. Number one, Jehuroya Neman Shel Yisrael, that Moshe Rabbeinu was the loyal shepherd of Klal Yisrael. That means he's been given a mission to look after Yidden, and he does it by Emunah, right? I mean, there's no greater example than in our Parsha. Moshe Rabbeinu Tainetzaches mit Eibishter. The Eibishter is so frustrated. The Eibishter wants to wipe out the Jewish people. Einmal, zweimal, dreimal, zehnmal. And Moshe Rabbeinu stops him. And the Eibishter says to him, Du hast doch gesagt. You said to me yourself, Erech Apayim, that the Eivir Tzena Yamus. So Moshe answers, and you answered me, Erech Apayim Afilu L'Shoim. Moshe Rabbeinu was given a shlichus to protect the Jews. And then when the Eibishter wants to destroy them, Moshe says to the Eibishter, my boss gave me a job to protect the Jewish people, and I'm going to do my job even after fight with you. Chachafilu, you're my boss. Moshe was very dedicated to Klal Yisrael. Number two, V'shuzon u'mefanes es Yisrael b'inyan emura. Moshe Rabbeinu provides food, and parnasa means clothing and makeup and jewelry, many other achraysim which are in a ksuba from man to his wife, to the Jewish people b'inyan emuna when it comes to matters of faith. And he teaches. Ha'emuna sheshnem b'Yisrael, the fact that he has emuna is mitadatzma. They don't need Moshe Rabbeinu for this. This is automatic. Because Shei Yisrael, hey Ma'amin, and Me'aminim Yidim, I believe, with descendants of believers. Rabbi said, let's stop right here. It says in the Pasuk, and it's brought in Chasidus, Churi Meirei Shamona. Churi Meirei Shamona means that there's a gift, a chura, to use the language of Lubavitch, by a chasna, give out a chura. Churi, a matona. Meirei Shamona, says the Chazal, Meirei Shla Ma'aminim, from the first believer. Every year there's a matona from the first believer. Who's the first believer? The first believer is Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was not born a Yid. Avraham Avinu was born a Ben Noach, a Goy. or a Ben Terach to be exact. And there's Maimorim, and there's Medrashim, and there's Kabbalah that explain how Avraham Avinu became a Yid. The bottom line is Avraham Avinu came to the Eibishter with his seichel. Avraham Avinu came to Hashem from his brain. But at a certain point, Avraham Avinu jumped, what they call a leap of faith. He went past his relationship with the Eibishter being based on his seichel, that his relationship with the Eibishter should be based on his neshama. In other words, if a person has proof that there's a God, that doesn't make them a believer, and it doesn't give them a relationship with Hashem. Proof that there's a God makes you a philosopher. If there's proof that there's a God, and you worship that God, that's a believer. And there's an incredible distance between saying, yeah, there's an Eibishter, und ich will ihm dienen, I am going to serve him. And that's the meaning of the expression, a leap of faith. The smartest person who came to the Eibishter using Chochma, Bina, Vadas, like the Rebbe says in the Kutasichas, Chelik Chof, Pashas Neach, that Avraham was Ben Arboim. The Rambam said, Avraham Ben Arboim Shona, Ben Arboim Labina, when he came to his full Hachlata, his full Maskana, his full thesis about the Eibishter, about Hashem. But Avraham did not remain an intellectual. Avraham became a Maimin. He jumped past his seichel to his emunah. And Avraham was a Yid of Nisyanis. Yeah, Avraham Avinu attended Nisyanis. I always tell you the Gemara in Bava Basra that the Satan L'Shem Shemayim Neskaven, yeah, the Eibishter wants to destroy the Jews and start over. Yidden machen nicht gut, he'll destroy the Jews and he'll start over. But if you're going to start over, you have to start from the beginning. What's the beginning? You have to have a new Avraham Avinu, Anai Avraham Avinu. So the Satan comes to the Eibishter. I mean, this is it's an embellishment and an exaggeration of a Gemara, but it's taka pshat in the Gemara. The Satan comes to the Eibishter, and the Eibishter says to him, "Nu v'zokst of Even, we're going to make a new nation. We'll start over. Anai Avraham Avinu. His name is Eve." So forgive me for using Groba Ace. Yes, the Satan gets in the Eibishter's face, and he says, "Hey, Tzachayin Rabbeinu Shalom, Master of the world. I'm the Satan. I'm the expert on sin. Ich sag dir zu, I promise you, there will never be another Avraham Avinu. There will never be another Avraham Avinu. Don't even think about it. So you're stuck not just with this Avraham Avinu, you're stuck with Zera Beis Avraham. You're stuck with Avraham Avinu's family, because there's not going to be a Yid. Should be tested 10 times. 10 times. And should pass all of the tests. Tries 10 times to break Avram's Amun and he can't. So Avram was zoiche that by him Amun is in his genes, in his neshama, in his kishkis. He wasn't born that way, but he died that way. And the Pasuk says, Churi mirei shamon, Avram Avinu gives Amun as a matana to every Yid from birth. Or in the Lashon HaGemara, ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. What does that mean? We don't start off our life as Jews the way Avram Avinu did. Avram Avinu started off his life as a Jew from his brain to his neshama, and we start off exactly the opposite. You take a little child, you teach him about the Eibishter, you teach him about Moshe Rabbeinu, you teach him about Avram Avinu, you teach him about Yankov Avinu, you teach him about Baal Shem Tov, about the Rebbe, with a munah pshuta. No logic, no philosophy, no seichel, pure munah. And you teach this child, this of the Maaseh, that the Friedrich was trying to hire Malamed for his daughters, or the anything the Great Chassidim, and he asked him, Malamed, how does he feel about teaching the little children the stories of creation and Adam and Chava and Cain and Hevel and the Dera Floga and Yud and Tamar, all of these controversial stories. So the Malamed said, I skipped those. They're hard for children to understand. So he said, no, you're not a Malamed for my children. Because a Malamed teaches a child Teda Maaseh Bereishis, the most supernatural thing in the world. You teach a child that in 6 days the Eibishter created the world. Fartik. It's so hard to understand. The biggest Chachamim have a hard time understanding how that could be. And you teach it to children b'pashtus, because our entire philosophy of life is Emunah first. And of course the way it manifests in the Jewish calendar, it's Pesach. The Rishon L'Golim is Pesach. What's Pesach? It's Chag HaEmunah. And Matan Torah is later. You start with Emunah. Seichel comes after Emunah. But Avraham Avinu, Seichel came before Emunah. But Avraham Avinu gave us a Tshura, a Matana. Mireish La'ma'aminim, from the first believers, that every Jew is a believer. And Emunah by a Yid is not from the brain. A Goy can also be a Maimin. And what it means that a Goy is a Maimin means to use his brain to figure out that Eibishter. and then he jumps away from his brain to having a relationship with the Eibishter himself, what's called service. But a guy's emunah starts with seichel. By a yid, his emunah starts with Rosh Lama'aminim, with his zayde, with his mother's milk. He has emunah. So you don't need Moshe Rabbeinu for emunah. Emunah we have because we're Jews. Emunah we have from Avraham Avinu. No, so why you have to have Moshe Rabbeinu? Lozun ulefanet Yisrael binyan emunah. If we have emunah from birth, and the teretz is efshe shetihi bebechinas makif. It's possible that emunah should be makif. Makif means indirect, around, hidden. The expression that's used to support this is the idea the ganva apum machtarta rachamona karye syndrome. There's a disease, there's a krenk, there's a machle. That ganva apum machtarta rachamona karye. The Gemara in the Broches and the Girs of the Yankiv, which is in the letter that the Alter Rebbe wrote by Riches to Avram Kalski and Tovkov Samachay, the brief is like gedruckt in Igros Kedish not in the Rebbe. That Avram Kalski was a big tzaddik. He criticized the Alter Rebbe and he came out against the derech of Chabad. So the Alter Rebbe finally responded. He used to write letters against the Alter Rebbe flamfire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Alter Rebbe finally felt that he has to defend himself. So Alter Rebbe wrote him a long letter, a very long letter, it's 6 or 7 pages, or more even. And the letter was in Parsim. I don't know exactly how it was in Parsim, but the letter is available. The letter is Faran. And one of the points he writes to him was Ichta Mitzvah. You forgot what the Gemara says in Broches. Gan v'apum machtarta rachamona kari, a ganef, a thief, is Baba Machteres. He digs a tunnel to break in into somebody else's house, to steal. And the Gemara says, based on the Posuk, Ein le domim, because a person breaks into your house, you shoot first, you ask questions later, because he's coming to kill or be killed. So you're dealing with a Yid who's a Ganev, and very close to being a Ritzeach, and he davens to the Eibush they should be successful. How can you daven to the Eibush to ask him to help you to be even the two worst Avedas in the Torah, Leitignev and Leititzach? And the Teretz says because he's a Maimin. So why would he, if he's a Maimin, why would he do something so foolish? The answer is Emunah is Makif. I can believe in the Eibishter and do whatever I want. Better Lipskut normal gesagt. Was steht, was liegt auf me nehmen. It says in the holy books, Lei Signe, but if you see a watch on the table, I'm going to take it. Was steht, was liegt auf me nehmen. He believes in the Eibishter. But he doesn't believe in the Eibishter in the kind of way that he'll do what the Eibishter says. Why? Because Emunah has a very big Maile, and Emunah has a very big Chesaron, and they're both the same thing. The greatest thing about Emunah is Ma'aminim b'nei Ma'aminim. The worst thing about Emunah is Ma'aminim b'nei Ma'aminim. How does that make sense? The sense is you never earned your Emunah. You were born with it. So it's easy for you. And there's a klal in Teira, Asya de Mogin b'Mogin, Mogin Asya. If you don't earn your Emunah, has no teeth, has no starkheit. So you believe in the Eibishter and then you do what you wish. So this is why you need Moshe Rabbeinu. You don't need Moshe Rabbeinu for Emunah. This is from Avraham Avinu. But Emunah from Avraham Avinu could be Makif. Could mean I believe in the Eibishter doesn't translate my practical living. Gan v'apum achtarta rachamona karye. And the Rebbe therefore says, V'zeh Moshe, the fact you have to have Moshe Rabbeinu. Who's the Rei, Yumafanes, who provides Mazenis and Panos. As you saw for the Jewish people being in Emunah, in as much as faith is concerned, is She'emunah tia bepnimis. Emunah, which you have from Avraham Avinu, is internalized, is made personal through Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, Moshe's role is to make that in each Yid, Emunah should mean something which is personal to him, because he internalized, because he worked on it. It's amazing to see. I'm so nispal. It's word for word the Zayar. This expression, Yisrael, the Zonim of Fanas Yisrael Binyan Emunah, is os ba'os azoyar, except that the Rebbe says it in Hebrew, and the Zayar is in Aramaic. It is exactly the same words in Zayar. Hahi Emunah Deliela. This Emunah which comes from the Eibishter. Yitzin, the Yitpanis, is going to get its Mezoinis, and it's going to get its Panos. Mini, from me, al yodacha, through you, Aidei Moshe. The Zeh, when it says in this Maimer, Shemeshe Zonu Mefanes Es Ha'emunah, Moshe Rabbeinu provides Mezenis and Panosa to Yidden, in the matters of Amunah, it should be internalized. I believe in the Eibush and I do what he says. If he says don't kill and don't steal, I don't kill and I don't steal. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit. Yeah, we're born believers, but you have to be a believer in such a way that if the Eibush says to do something, you do it. The Eibush says not to do something, you don't do it. And this is called Ure'ei Emunah. You have to shepherd faith. Every Rebbe in every generation had one job. Lekasher or lechaber as Yisrael made it safe. In other words, Lozun or lefanes as Yisrael binyan Emunah. In every door, the Rebbe has the same task. That the neshama, which is a gift from Avraham Avinu, should be personal and practically relevant to every Yid. That's the title of Emunah. The Emunah which Hashem gave us, He internalizes it. How does He do it? So you'll see in this Maimed a contradiction. In the one hand, every Rebbe does it using exactly the same technique, touching the neshama. On the other hand, no two Rebbes do it the same, because every Rebbe, every generation has different circumstances on the ground. And based on the realities of the world, how the Eibush Zanim Afan Shalbinyan Emunah changes from generation to generation. Like I said before, we'll see this later on in the Maimed, or the famous Lashon Harav, Hu Kefi Sheyizbayeh Lekamen. I'll explain this later. But I want to talk about something more. And that is this. There's a document in Halacha called a Ksubah. It's a Ksubah. A Ksubah is a document which is the responsibility of a man to his wife. It's not like the Tnoim that are mutual. Him to her and her to him. The Ksubah is an obligation from a man to his wife. Now Ksubah you have from before Matan Torah. Maru alai meiru maton. Yad lebnei apelakshim b'shal Avram. Rashi says Pilakshim is b'li Ksubah, Noshim is b'Ksubah. And at the same time, even though Ksubah was before Matan Torah, Ksubah is considered the Rabban and not the Deraisa. Which is a funny thing. It comes from before Matan Torah and it's not a mitzvah Deraisa. But that's a discussion for a different time. Amongst the Tnaim of the Ksubas, a man has an obligation to give his wife mezainis and to give his wife panos. Does it mean he has to feed her? Mezainis. And he has to give her money for other expenses, which includes jewelry, it includes makeup and clothing, depending, of course, she's oile ime ve'eni eredes ime. He has to provide for her what she needs. So in Ruchni's the terms, mezainis means something that you put inside. Parnasa means it's not food, it's something that you ingest, it's something that's part of your life, but it's around you. So the Zoyar, and from this Zoyar comes the Maimorim, and they say that this idea that Moshe Rabbeinu is Zonim Efarz Yisrael Binyan Amunah is called Yitzun v'Yispanis. Yitzun v'Yispanis, right? Yitzun v'Yispanis. Mizoinis and Panasa. The same, use both L'kshoinis. Because somehow in the Amunah which Moshe Rabbeinu has to strengthen, there's a mezainis aspect. Mezainis means food that you should take internally. Whatever it means, taking internally in terms of strengthening emunah. And then there's parnasa. Things which you do not take internally, but rather they're sort of around you. It's the clothing, it's the jewelry, it's the makeup, it's the other it's the other things that a woman needs for her own personal itzah, that a man has an obligation to give her, as the tnaim of ksubah. So there's two aspects to what Moshe Rabbeinu gives Yidden in terms of emunah. One is called mezoinis, and the other is called parnasa. Now I didn't figure out, and I don't want to figure out how you would explain bepratius what's the chsidus of mezoinis and what's the chsidus of parnasa as it relates to emunah. But I'm just pointing out that in the Zoya, that's the source of this expression. This whole Maimon is built around this expression. Lozun ulefanes es Yisrael binyan emunah. This expression is a verbatim Zoya, word for word from the Zoya. And the Zayah uses both expressions, Mezainis or Parnasa, and I'm pointing this out. Straight, Gendik, stop, done. So what did we just do? We took yesterday's class, didn't ask any questions, but we offered more insight. In yesterday's class we explained that V'yata Tetzava means Lekasher u'lechaber as Yisrael the made in saved, that Moshe Rabbeinu ties and connects into the Meibishnu. Today we simply use a different expression for the same idea. That Moshe Rabbeinu is Zonu Mefanes as Yisrael, he provides Bezenes and Panasa to Yidden, Be'inyan Amun. That's it. And we're finished. Fini. This is already a Maimer. What we learned till now is if I take a Maimer, you can live your whole life with this. But then the Rebbe continues. I'm on page Lamed Hey, Perek Gimel, and we're 7 lines into the Perek. And then the Friedrich Rebbe continues in his mind, and he says, we just explained that Meisha, who Arayim Mehem the Meisha, but is a trusted shepherd, who was Raya Neman Shal Yisrael, and also Zonim of Fares as Yisrael Binyan Amunah, Zog the Heilige Rebbe Akavona Bazehi. This means Gam also Lishpashtusa the Meisha to Bechol Deir, to the radiation of Meisha Rabbeinu in every generation. The Rosh Alpha Yisrael Bechol Dor. Each generation does a Rebbe, does a Nasi. And the heads of the thousands of Yidden, that means the Rebbe, the Nasi, the Reish, B'nai Yisrael, every generation, they have to strengthen the Emunah of the Yidden in their generation to do the same thing. Their Emunah should be internal. Another example would be Mordechai. Mordechai was a Rebbe, just like Meisha Rabbeinu was a Rebbe. The Rebbe is going to bring later this Lashon, Mordechai B'deirei K'Meisha B'deirei. There's a special connection between Mordechai and Meisha Rabbeinu. He was the Rebbe, the Nasi had done in his generation. As all it's written in the Medrash. And you'll see it later on in Perek Zayin, I think. Mordechai in his generations, Meisha Rabbeinu in his generation, that he also did the same inyan of Lazon and Faris as Yisrael Binyan Amun. And he teaches Shagam Bisman Gzeras Haman in the time of the decree of Haman. Shalim without Teda, that learning Teda the key and mitzvahs and doing mitzvahs. Oz at that time, how your kosher Mesidas Nefesh was connected to Mesidas Nefesh, which we're going to talk about in Mitzvah Shabbat Perek Daled. Nevertheless, Hikel Kilas Barabim gathered large groups of Jewish people, and particularly the Yiddish Kinderlach. Lachaz Ekesam Aslam Sheisal by the Shem to strengthen the Emunah of Yidden and the Meibishn. Allah made Chazak and to stand strong, believing with Atayda V'kiyim on mitzvahs and learning Teda and doing mitzvahs. Stop. So now we have a new Gedank, a Naya Gedank. It's not only that Meisha Rabbeinu Agashmi is an Neshama Yid, and we have 2 different ways of describing the role of a Neshama Yid. Number 1, Lekasher or Lechaber as Yisrael Merin Sof. Number 2, Lozon or Lefaris as Yisrael Binyan Emunah. But we're adding that B'chol Dor in every generation is Pashtusa the Meisha. The Meisha Rabbeinu in every generation has a similar task. Let's talk about this. First of all, let's do the classic stuff, the really Lubavitcher radical stuff. Kaidim called the word the Rebbe. Is it Rashi Tevis, Reish B'nai Yisrael, Reish Beis Yud, Reish B'nai Yisrael. V'Hashenis, the Rebbe brought 100 times the word Nasi, Nun Shin Yud Aleph. Now I have a suspicion that, did you see in the Friedrich Rebbe Sichas the expression Nasi? The Rambam in the middle of the Rebbe the expression Nasi. Where did the expression the Rebbe the Nasi start? Rabbi Seinu Nisi, and the Rebbe says L'chayda that Lashon you have earlier, but the koch that the Rebbe is a Nasi, Nasi Hador. I have a suspicion that at least on some level this Tayar comes from the Rogatchover. The Rogatchover was Kulei Nigle. But he was a Gon Amiti. It was a Sarah Teda. The Teda was his. And he used to call the Friedrich Rebbe the Nasi. I heard this from Mendel Marozov, who knew the Rogatchover personally, that he once went, he was a kid. He was a boychik. He was before Bar Mitzvah. He was in Leningrad at the same time as the Rogatchover, and the Friedrich Rebbe called Rebbe L'chaim Altes, to go tell the Rogatchover that the Rebbe ruft. The Rogatchover lived on the opposite side of town. Leningrad's a big city. The Friedrich Rebbe lived in one place, and the Rogatchover lived across town. So they took a horse and wagon that belonged to a chassid whose name was Reb Shmuel Michel Treinen. Ik ben allemaal a greiser gewir, the communisten have mal stugenemen. Reb Shmuel Michel Treinen. He was a big chassid, he was a big balabas, he had a horse and wagon. So Rebbe L'chaim and Mendel was a boy. Went together with the wagon to pick up the Rogatchover and to bring him from Friedrich Rebbe. The Friedrich Rebbe was 22 years younger than him. The Friedrich Rebbe didn't go to him. He called him to come to him. That alone is Advad Pele. It's not just that the Friedrich Rebbe knew the Rogatchover would come, but that the Friedrich Rebbe felt as they dav zayin. And the Rogatchover agreed. Anyway, so the way Mendel told us the Maaseh Chabayim gelernt, the Rogatchover came home from shul, and he saw the wagon waiting for him. At the got a Gainische cup, he took a look at the horses and said, "That's a Shmuel Michel's fed." He could see a Tvi sign in him fed. He could tell. He looked at the horses. I mean, it wasn't the Tצוה was not a horse guy, you know. He wasn't the horse raiser. He took a look at the horse as a Shmuel Michel's fed. He was bringing out the goiness that he looked at a horse. He knew who the balabas of the horse was. Anyway, the Tçowa came into the house, and the Rebbetzin was there, the Tçowa's wife. And it says in this forum that the Tçowa was very mechabed his wife. Yosef Megufa, like it says in Rambam. And they told him that the Rebbe ruft. So the Tçowa said, I'm fasting, I didn't eat, so he washed, he ate mamish akazayis, and he benched. And his Rebbe and his wife said to him, das ich nicht gegessen. He was Yotze pas Shachar, yeah, but the Nasi ruft. The Nasi ruft. Nasi ruft. So there's a halacha of Nasi, right? The Nasi is a teir which goes on a melech. A Nasi teir that goes on the head of the Sanhedrin. And the Tçowa used to call the Friedrich Rebbe the Nasi. Chachafilu, he was so much older than him, and so on. There's a long story with the Rebbe Rayatza and the Tçowa that happened in Pei Aleph, where he called him the Nasi. Yidn Tafam Man Nasi. Anyway, so whether I'm right or wrong that the Tçowa is the Shadish or Mokar of this expression by the Rebbe, but the Rebbe used to say often, the Rebbe says often, that there's a sefer called Kilas Yanke, which is like an encyclopedia or a dictionary of Kabbalah, that was written for the Baal Machaber Sefer Meloi Aroim. It was a big gon in Nigla. He lived after the middle of Rebbe. He was a Chassidish Yid. He was a Polish Chassid. He was not a Lubavitcher, not a Chabad Chassid. And he wrote this brilliant sefer, which is an encyclopedia of Kabbalah. In the East Side of Alabama, they have the sefer right here. You can buy it in the stores. Kilas Yankiv. Today in Hebrew books and Sab Malasum Zist. And it says in Kilas Yankiv under the word Nasi, Nitzutze Shel Yankov Avinu. There is a spark of Yankov Avinu's neshama. Now you have to explain. Who's Yankov Avinu? So if I tell the Gemara, that the Gemara says, Shufra the Yankov Avinu, Mein Shufra the Adam Rishon. And then of course the Gemara says, Shufra the Rabbi Yechana, and then Shufra the Rabbi Avo. Right? Shufra the Yankov Avinu, the beauty of Yankov Avinu was Mein Shufra with Avrat Adam Rishon, was similar to the beauty of Adam Rishon. What's the pshat? Adam Rishon included the neshama of every Yid who's ever going to be born. If Adam and Chava don't eat from the Das Tevara, the neshamas that come from them are only Yid, no Goyim. Because of the Chet Eitz, so they produced Goyim. But within the neshamas of all of these Goyim was the possibility that Yidden are eventually going to come. And then by Adam Rishon, by Avraham Avinu, they came. And then Yankov Avinu is one person. He's be'ein shufra the Adam Rishon, just like Adam Rishon was supposed to include all the Samach Riba Neshamas Yisrael, with the Samach Riba Nitzutzim within each Neshama Klolis. Yankov Avinu was like Adam Rishon. Every Jew who ever is going to exist till Mashiach is included in Yankov Avinu. So the Taich Nitzutze Shel Yankov Avinu, the Rebbe Nasi, is the spark of Yankov Avinu, means just like Yankov Avinu called all the Yidden of all generations, a Rebbe Nasi is a Nitzutz of Yankov Avinu, and he's called all the Neshamas Yisrael of his generation. Like it's explained in Tanya Ba'arichis, right? This is a classic idea. It's a classic idea. And we're going to talk it over. We're going to waste time. Yeah? With pattern inside. There's two places in Tanya that Rebbe talks about the connection between the Neshamas. The first is in Perek Lamed Beis, Perek Lev, Hayadua. The Rebbe is talking about V'ahavta l'recha kamoich. And he asks the Bavusta Kasha. It's a classic question. It's a question that begs an answer. It begs an answer. That v'ahavta l'recha kamoich is neged achush. It's impossible. There's no way you could love another person like you love yourself. It's certainly not possible to love every single Jew exactly like you love yourself. It's heipech hametzias of Adam korev eitzel atzmi. Everybody is close to his. Everybody has a bias towards himself. Rambam, you look in Rambam. In Hilchas Deis Perek Zayin, we talk about L'recha kamoicha. He doesn't explain that v'ahavta means to love. He explains v'ahavta that you should treat lovingly, behave. Madaloch soni l'chaver chesav, that you should do to somebody else what you want someone else to do to you. Or the Gemara says shlila. Don't do unto somebody else what you don't want done on yourself. The Rambam sort of turns it around into Achiev. Do unto somebody else what you want somebody else to do to you. It's a bit complicated, but they state the Rambam. At least a part of the Rambam. Because the Rambam holds that v'ahavta al pi halacha, you can't expect another Jew to love every other Jew like he loves himself. But that's why the al pi niglas Rabbi Akiva, klal gadol b'teres, not kol teira kula. But the Alter Rebbe says no, kol teira kula, like Hillel. Why? Because on the level of the neshama, all Yidden are one. Hagufim mechulakim, the body separates one Yid from another. But if you get past the guf, veistach, ayedei kiyom advarim anal, liyes gufei nivze v'nimes v'einev, raksem chosei tia simchas v'nefesh, levado harezerech hasharav hakavar, alov l'kiyim mitzvah v'yav l'lech hamecha, l'cholevet nefesh miyisrael, l'migodl v'atkot. If a person says his guf is not a nikir, and his neshama is a nikir, you can love every other Jew exactly as you love yourself, because on the level of neshama, like it says in the Lashon and Tanya, who knows which neshama is higher? Number 2, all the neshamas are exactly on the same madrege. And number 3, we have one Father, we're mamish one. In them taten is min eins. In our Father we're one. So Alter Rebbe in Perek Lamed Beis says, how could you mekayim v'ahavta lecha kameicha to every Jew in the world? And the teretz is, it's a simple teretz. It's not an easy teretz, but it's a simple teretz. Just be megal the neshama. On the level of the neshama, you automatically have an ahava to every yid, because level of the neshama. When Avraham Fried made a song, Midraisik Finif Yatzadik, when I was a bocher yet. It's one of his earliest records when I was still listening to music. Yeah, it's called Forever One. He doesn't sing it a lot, yeah. But just look at the lyrics in English. It's mamish perikla. Look inside the heart of a Jew. Open up its many doors. And the soul you'll find there inside is a reflection of yours. And it goes on and on. It's mamish, the whole niggin, it's in English. It's written well. I think Rabbi Manos even wrote the song. Is Peidik Lev. Forever one. Yidden are one. On the level of the neshama, we're mamish one. So the Alter Rebbe says, if a person exposes his neshama, so in Perek Lamed Beis, Alter Rebbe talks about the idea that when you reveal your neshama, the only way to be makayim this mitzvah saseh is by revealing the neshama. If you reveal the neshama, you're one with all the other Jews, and you can love them like you love yourself. Right? But there's another mitzvah. It doesn't make any sense, and that's the mitzvah saseh ul dovka bay. Ul dovka boy. We had this in the shurim in the morning in Sherish Mitzvah. It was mentioned also. We talked about it. To makayim dvekes, there's a mitzvah saseh for you to be dovak in the Eibishter. There's 2 mitzvahs. There's a lechas bedrachav, halachta bedrachav, and there's a dovka bay. And there's a, whatever, I'm not going into the pratim. It's not frisch by mir, it's not feister. So the Gemara asks the question, how could you be dovak in the Eibishter? The Eibishter is fire. How could you attach yourself to fire? Bechol, the Eibishter is coming to us, but Chiyevsha dovak b'shchina, dovak hatkedar, the Eibishter is fire. And the answer is, hadbik b'talmidei chachamim. The way you makayim ul dovka bay is by touching us to Talmidei Chacham. What does that mean? The same kasha, the same teretz, the same milchas deis, and the same ramba. That you should be around Talmidei Chacham, you should try to help them, you should marry a bas Talmid Chacham, you should give your daughter to a Talmid Chacham, you should give your son to the bas of the Talmid Chacham, you should let them go first when it comes to parnasa. Well, the dovka mean, just like v'ahavta lecha kamoicha, is explained in Rambam as a series of rituals and behaviors. Well, dovka bay is also explained in the series of ritual behaviors, even though that's not attached to the word. Well, dovka doesn't mean to be nice to Talmidei Chacham. It means to cleave to the Eibishter, to be glued, to stick, to adhere. What's the lashon? To adhese with Atzma Saint Self. How could you do it? So again, the Rama Benigla finds behaviors, and the Gemara speaks about this also, practical things that you could do, which go into the category of hadbek Talmidei Chacham. But the Alter Rebbe in Tanya is bothered. Just like he was bothered by v'ahavta lecha kamoicha. With the Gemara and the Rambam explain. Pshat in the pasuk. That it doesn't mean to love. It means to treat lovingly. But the bottom line is, it doesn't say in the pasuk you should treat lovingly. It says v'ahavta. And the Alter Rebbe found the solution. Mitzad neshama. The same is true here. It's a mitzvah to say that one of the Tayag mitzvahs, to be dovek in the Eibishter, and al pi halacha, it means to connect yourself to a Talmid Chacham through certain actions. Bottom line is, that's not what says in pasuk. The pasuk does not say al dovka bay to be nice to Talmid Chacham, give him a job, let him sell his cheder first. The dovka means dveikus. So the Alter Rebbe goes back to the same point. Move away the guf and reveal the neshama. But here's a different kvetch. How is it different kvetch? Because we don't only speak about how all neshamas are connected. We speak about how all neshamas are a pyramid. They're not exactly the same. In other words, in Perek Lev, we're talking about Avos Yisrael. We don't talk about the differences between a neshama and a neshama. Just the focus on the neshama. In Perek Beis, you start saying that there's bigger neshamas and smaller neshamas. And the nekuda is azoy. Adam Rishon is one neshama. In the neshama of Adam Rishon, you have the neshama of every year till Mashiach. Not the neshama chadashas, which are going to be after Mashiach comes, but every neshama till Mashiach said Keinu is included in Adam Rishon. And the lashon which is brought in the Abishon Tzemach Tzedek from the Zohar is ke'anvim detalien be'itke, like grapes hanging from a cluster. These yidden hanging from his eye, and these yidden hanging from his ear, and these yidden hanging from his arm, and these yidden hanging from his leg. That means Adam is one man, and in his neshama you have the sparks of all 600,000 original neshamas. So every neshama actually comes from Adam Rishon's neshama. Now then there's ishtalshalus. And the Alter Rebbe gives a long mashal in Perek Beis to explain this ishtalshalus, like a baby, a fetus. It starts off from one point, one tipa sa'af, that comes from moyach af, and the father's moyach, and then it divides and it divides and it divides until it not only becomes many cells, it becomes many different cells. From that one tipa, some becomes the brains, and some becomes the eyes, and some becomes the ears, and some becomes the tongue, and the heart, and the liver, and the spleen, and the kidneys, and the intestines, and some become the arms and the legs, and some becomes the hair, and the skin, and the nails. Shairas v'tzipanayim. It started from one seed, and in that one seed they were indivisible. But when they divide, they diversify. They individuate, they become different. Some become the highest aspects of the person, which is the brain and the eyes and the heart and the lungs. And some become so low they represent the most peripheral things, the cells of the hard skin in the back of the heel, or the hair and the nails. So the Alter Rebbe says all neshamas are connected, but they're not all the same. Which neshama is the eyes? Which neshama is the brain? And this is the Rosh Yalfis, the Tzadikim, the Rabbeim, the Nesiyah Yisrael. They're called Eidei Ha'eda. They're called the Rosh B'nai Yisrael because their neshama is like the brain. So the Alter Rebbe adds noch a kvetch. The father gives one seed that comes from the Moyach Ha'av, that then diversifies. That Moyach Ha'av, this is the Nasir Hadar, it's the Rosh B'nai Yisrael. And all the neshamas that are going to come from him come from that spark, come from that rosh, come from that one seed. And therefore, just like when you speak about the mitzvahs that say v'yahavta l'recha kamoich, Chassidus insists that if it says v'yahavta, it means love and not treat lovingly, and explains it based on neshama. Similarly, when it says in the Teirul dovka bei, and the Gemara teaches hadbik b'talmidei chacham, it literally dveikus. How do you have dveikus with another person? And the answer is dveikus is on the neshama level. Hadbek b'tamidei chacham means a dveikus between the neshama of a yid and the neshama of a tzaddik. Because the neshama of the tzaddik is the source of the neshamas of all the yidden of their generation. And he's called the Mamutza HaMachaber, whatever Mamutza HaMachaber means. And through him they're connected to Asma Sein Sof. So L'dovka Bei means literally, you want to be Dovak in the Meibishten, be Dovak in the tzaddik. The Eibishter puts in the generation Tzadiki Hador Areba Nasi B'Yisrael. And his neshama is the source of all the neshamas of his generation. He's called the neshama klolis, the general soul of all the neshamas of his generation. And all the neshamas of his generation are connected to the Eibishter through him. This is a spiritual thing. It's not a behavioral thing. This is a spiritual thing. The neshama of a yid and the neshama of the Rebbe become one, and thus are connected to Atzma Sein Sof. And the Rebbe, of course, says there's something called Hapeshim v'hamedim b'talmidei chachamim. Those who rebel against Talmidei chachamim. So the Nebuch, they're also connected to the Dveikus, the Talmud Chacham. But because of their rebellion, it's called Acheraim. I'm sorry. Excuse me. And that's the Pshat in the Pasuk. Uladovka Bei, Hashem gave us a mitzvah to be Dovek B'Shechina. What does that mean? To reveal how our neshama is one with the neshama of Elokus. And the Gemara says, how could you do it? And the Gemara answers through the Tzaddik, through the Talmidei Chachamim. And it's literally a neshama bond, a neshama connection. So the Rebbe just said that just like Moshe Rabbeinu Agashmi is Mekasher and Mechaber Es Yisrael L'Meidin Seif, and he's Zon L'Mefan Es Yisrael, Binyan Amuna, the same is true in every generation. Is Pashtusa the Moshe B'chol Dora V'Dora. Ein Deir She'ein Bei K'Moshe. Mordechai B'Deiri K'Moshe B'Deiri. And there's another bunch of my Mordechai that speak about the concept of a neshama in each generation, which is like Moshe Rabbeinu. And what does it mean? That his neshama is koilel all the neshamas of his generation, and his role is lozon ulefanas es Yisrael. Lozon ulefanas es Yisrael binyan amuna lekasher ulechaber es Yisrael u'medin seif, to connect to Yidden the Atzmos and Hossein Salvarach. Okay, we're going to stop now, and tomorrow Mr. will finish Perek Gimel, and hopefully we'll also learn Perek Dalet. I thank you all for joining us. It's a big simcha. I know it's the middle of the night, but this is the time that I have available. Okay, gute Nacht. Zugesund. I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow.